All right, traders, good afternoon. This is Christian from Hertz Market Trade Group, and it is Monday, July 26th. Risk disclaimer in front of you. Everything that we're going through here is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. Everything that we're going through is for education purposes only. If the screen is a little bit blurry, just give YouTube a little bit longer to render the high definition portion of the video. So, what do we have for today? A couple themes. Clearly the China issue story. That dominated the headlines today, as well as the Bitcoin story, which, it is what it is, right? I had kind of thought that this Bitcoin Amazon thing, that Amazon was going to be accepting Bitcoin, may not exactly have been true. The source was very sketchy. But at the end of the day, if you made money on it, that's trading, right? So it did seem to me very suspect. I didn't do anything today, in terms of, adding any Bitcoin plays. I certainly was watching some things. There was a level that was taken out, which I did put on Twitter. I hope this helps some people. So you could see this Bitcoin is coming down pretty decently, but this level here was basically, again, how a version point of control works. So again, if you're new to watching my videos, I rely a lot on volume at price, right? And I have my own proprietary indicator that I've developed with one of my colleagues here called the MarketWebs indicator, right? Which looks at, which puts some really good support and resistance levels together for, when we're using the volume profile, right? These things over here. Right. So, for example, I'm on the 1 hour chart, and it really just kind of helps us map out levels for the day. It's really good for telling us where there may be some areas of resistance. So I'll put this out on Twitter again once more, but I try to put these things out on Twitter. Obviously we talk a lot about these in the trading room all day long, and it's our own secret sauce. But I know like Twitter still hasn't really kind of caught on to what we're doing. Which is fine, right? It's nice to have a trading edge that not everybody is following or completely understands. But, I put this out earlier. I said this level, this 39,800 level, right? Let me see exactly what I put out here. Yeah, so here it is, right? So I mentioned this earlier today, right? So I said the 1 hour VPOC takeout is imminent. Right, and then I also put, when it was realized. And this is typically what we see. Like after a big move like this, like a big spike up like this, price will seek out previous areas of high volume, right? So it's actually like works like a magnet. And as closer that you get to these levels, it actually pulls the price there. Why? Because there was a high level of buyers and sellers that previously met up here. And again, it's called a virgin point of control because price is not returned back there, right? So it kind of acts like some people like to really use gaps, right? And they say that no gap remains unfilled, and then at some point it gets filled. It's kind of the same, not exact, but a little bit of a similar concept that an area of high volume that has not been revisited at some point will be revisited, right? And so there you have it. So this level right below 40,000 was taken out, and I don't know what comes next. I would think maybe possibly even a bigger reversion, but like I said, at the end of the day, these stories sometimes they are made up, like this particular one. You can make some money off of trading, right? I mean, we're traders. Some of the things I do is considered investing too, but this was a trade that you could have profited off of in terms of where it was going for the day. All right, so that's the story in terms of Bitcoin. Also, you could see that it did take out that one. So the first thing it did was take out that daily one. The virgin point of control on the daily time frame, and then it kind of really searched the one out that was a little bit higher. All right, so again, it's amazing how things happen. If you're looking for another example, here was one to the downside this day, and price can sometimes go past it like it did on this daily, right? But you could see this one was taken out, right, and it moved right back up, right? This one, same thing. This was taken out, right? And price action did get back there the next day, but moved back higher. Now, once they're realized, they're gone. Right, so Sometimes afterwards we will go, notice this thing bounced, right? And then it actually, ended up going back lower again. Same thing with this. Takeout here in Bitcoin futures, it managed to stay above here for a while, but ultimately, once this thing is gone and realize it's gone, right? So that's, one of the things too. All right, so that's the one story of the day. The other story was the China stuff, which, this is not new in terms of what China has done. They've done this before. They like to, every once in a while, they really like to show that the government is in boss, is in charge there, and they push around their market any way that they want to, and it just is what it is, and I think that sometimes, we're all kind of guilty of this, is that we kind of get complacent, right? We're used to trading a BABA or a JD, and we kind of forget after a while that there is added risk with China. It is not, a democratic, system that they have in place, right? They could do anything that they want to. They control everything, right? So it is much different now. And again, sometimes we get lulled into complacency. But I was talking to somebody about this over the weekend on Twitter, and I said, "Hey, it is what it is. There are added risks when you invest in China, right? So it's not like anything like, oh, geez, this was a surprise. They could do." You may have been surprised, but they could do this at any time. So, what did we see in terms of flow, right? Because people always want to know, what we saw in terms of flow with this stuff, everything. It's a shame how, sometimes on Twitter, people kind of manipulate the flow to tell the story that they want to tell. But there was call buying in FXI. There was put buying in MCHI, which is a little bit more of a diverse ETF. There's something for everyone, right? So you could make up any type of story if these things rebound a little bit, or if they sell off further. You can come up and say option flow called it for you, but really there's not much edge. Because there was just calls going up in all kinds of things, single names as well as the ETF itself, and the same thing, there was put buyers in this stuff too, right? And that's kind of what makes a market a lot of times, is there's different views in the market. But please don't go and look and cherry pick an option flow order and say, oh, how did they know? When it's like there's a million orders in this stuff, right? PDD was one name that there was a lot of calls that went up in this name. But guess what? They've been buying calls in this thing for the last 3 months, right? And you could see what the price action has done, right? If you manage to, if you're day trading this stuff and you've caught it once for profit, congratulations to you. But this has not been, you could go back and look in a database. PDD has seen nothing but call buying for months. And people don't tell the full story of this stuff, right? And people will mention it today because if it happens to rebound, if this thing happens to rebound tomorrow, everybody will be out saying, "Oh, geez, they called it they bought calls yesterday." Well, but forget, they've been buying calls in this thing for 3 months, and you could see what the price has done: $195 down to $88. All right, so you have to be really careful. And you have to be really careful with people who are calling out option flow. They'll call out both sides, and they'll be right on one side, right? It was, So let's go on to the next subject. Tesla is a name that's not. I don't think it's moving too much here in the after hours. Again, the trade that I was looking to do for this thing, I did not do because there just wasn't enough premium to collect. I wanted to go out a little bit further out, I guess. Based on the technicals, but I was looking to collect premium, which is how most earnings trades do work. Is that you sell premium, and for the for the majority of times, you're going to win with that strategy, right? But again, you have to be willing to take a risk. Some people really like to take a lot of risk, and they sell a call and they sell a put. I'm not willing to do that. What I like to do is sell a call spread so that the risk is defined, and sell a put spread. But there just wasn't enough premium to collect. I looked at $5 wide spreads as well as $10 spreads, and I like to have it at least 1 for 1. Meaning, if I sell a call spread and a put spread, $10 wide. Right? I like to have that premium add up to be, with the calls and the puts, $5 for a $10 wide put spread. I'm not going to sell a call spread and a put spread for like $2 total of $2.50. That's not a good risk to reward situation. So if it doesn't line up for me, I don't trade it. But that's the way I thought Tesla would go. And you could see, right? We're going to talk a lot about this week, but look at the history of the last 5 earnings reports. The stock hasn't moved more than 5%. So I know this is an exciting name, but it really has not been an exciting name on earnings, right? It's just, there hasn't been a time where this thing has moved over 10% in 6 quarters. Make it 7, because I don't think today is going to be it either. All right, and here's another one too. What have we seen in Tesla over the last week and a half? We've seen a lot of put buying and we've seen some call buying, right? Both of those orders are going to lose. But I know people like to call both sides of this stuff because I don't know that they have confidence issues. But there has been put buying last week and there was call buying. What I said in the room on Friday is like one of them is probably going to be right. Either the call buyer or the put buyer is going to be right. In this case, you probably would have made a little bit of money on the calls because that stock at one point was up 3% today. But you really have to be careful. You can't cherry pick an order. If they're all aggressive calls, puts, right? People like to look for when it's labeled sweep on the order. We saw both of those orders last week, right? So around earnings, and you'll hear me say this a lot, it's harder than it normally is to analyze option flow, right? The other thing too, people forget to talk about this too. I'm going over this too because it was a light day in terms of what I did in terms of trading today, but you never know what the total picture of what these guys are holding, right? Whoever's buying the calls or the puts, you don't know if it's a hedge. Now, sometimes you could say, okay, well, it was swept and it was aggressive, so they're probably not buying aggressively a hedge. But there's stuff that people, if you've ever talked to a hedge fund manager who's actually, executing some of these orders, sometimes this stuff on TV, that they talk about, like I've known people who the flow that they talk about on TV and they get you all riled up and, there was huge calls that went up in this one. I've talked to some of the people who are actually trading this stuff and they're like, yeah, that was a hedge I put on, right? So, I was hedging, either a short position or a long position. So, you really have to be careful with how you're interpreting this. The way that, a couple of things that I talked about today is, I talked a lot, of course, towards the end of last week and in the TTG, one of the TTG videos about, kind of sitting back a little bit this week and observing. I think there's going to be plenty of trading opportunities, but it's, some people use the analogy of a really good poker player, right? If you've played poker a lot, right, the Texas Hold'em, or if you've watched it on, maybe if you haven't played, but if you've watched it on TV, the good players and the good traders, a lot of time, they're folding. They're waiting for a really good hand. That's kind of what I did today. I did put on a trade on, and I was looking at some steel names today, but I just didn't do much day trading of any because I just thought I think there'll be better opportunities this week. Right? So over trading, it's one of the hardest things I think is to sometimes just sit on your hands when there isn't a great trading opportunity. So I saw some things that were interesting today. Square was a name that rallied pretty hard last week. It was down today. I almost took a shot at this one. Another one. So if you kind of look at the daily chart, maybe this sits in a little bit. The one thing I would be a little bit concerned about is a lower high here, but we'll see how it plays out. So nothing on here currently. I do have a position of Square in the TTG Trend Portfolio. I've had a position in Square for a couple of years now, but I don't have anything on in my trading account. Another name that I was looking at too is SE, which made a new high on Friday. Sitting back in here, moving down to like 288. So again, I almost put on a position in this one too, and I'm like, I just feel like there's no rush right now ahead of the Fed meeting on Wednesday. I'm not inclined to do anything big here. Snap was one that I bought the dip on a little bit today, right? So I'll move over to to my trades, but this thing kind of went down to 74, right? So let me bring up my trades. So again, look at the activity that I did on Friday. Right? A lot of trading of Snap, a lot of trading of Facebook, back and forth. I made some good money on those trades. Today, I guess just a different situation, right? So I made a little bit of money on this. I bought some Snap at 75, took some off at 77, took some off at 78.5, and now I can kind of sit back again, right? Because this thing hit resistance right in here, right, for the day. So again, using the value areas, using volume at price to know where your resistance levels are. And now I can kind of live to fight another day in this name. Now I'm holding a little bit of October calls just as so I have a little skin in the game, but I'm going to trade around this position and try to buy it. One of the things I want to notice in the next couple days is how, so today was just an inside day, by the way, for Snap. But I want to see if buyers are going to come in when this thing sells off a little bit, right? We've seen a lot of names like that where they begin to trend out of earnings. And what I notice is that every time it dips a little bit, that's when buyers come in. So that remains to be seen. That worked for day one, a little bit of trading. And I kept a small portion of stock on. So I've got a little bit of stock on. I've got a little bit of options on. And we'll see how it develops. Facebook, same thing, inside day after a big day on Friday. Amazon, made a nice move this morning, but there wasn't much follow through after that. Still up over 1% for the day. I think it has a chance to continue to run into earnings, maybe hit a new high before earnings. We'll see how that goes. A few other names I was watching today, TTD, which was up today. But again, you kind of look at some of these smaller time frames, specifically I think the 5-minute, and just noticed how it was contained inside value for the day. Right? If some of these things were going to actually start to break outside value, then I would have possibly put a position on. So what was interesting to me was what happened today in the steel names. Right? So copper was up a decent chunk today. It was up 4%. That's great to see, in my opinion. Could be a whole nother group of stocks. What's been happening with this market in 2021? One group goes off for a week or so, and then they take profits in that group and put those profits into a new group. So we've seen tech, high growth. We've seen software names really catch on very nicely in the last couple weeks. Maybe at this point some material names start to move higher. FCX had a nice day, up 4%. I like the look of Nucor. I like the look of so there is some support, right? Just got into the value area for the month. 95.85 is your support level. I always like this STLD name. Right, still not above the 50-day moving average. So again, I didn't chase this one. The only thing I did was I established a position in RS, which this one didn't go like the others, but I like this name. It just had earnings, and we'll see. This is an aluminum and steel name, so you got kind of a combination of things. Alcoa has been a champ since it had earnings. Very strong. What's the other name that? There's another name too that I was looking at today. CENX is another aluminum name. Strong names. All right, and if we go back to my sheet for the day, oil and energy names were strong too. So again, you can kind of see besides the blockchain stuff, if you take out the move that happened in the blockchain stocks and the Bitcoin stocks, it was mainly a value type day. Value outperformed a touch. You could see that the ARK funds were sold off through the session. They were underperforming. They were down. Right, and that's the story. There's a couple other interesting things, but I think for now, Monday video we'll cut it a little bit short. Guys, have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow.